should just have the Sierra sounds on standby to be like, blah, 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 blah.
What when will?
I should do that. Just get a bunch of like wood knocks on my soundboard.
Wood knocks, yeah, like screams and
Yeah, just hoops and hollers.
whoops and yeah.
That'd be a good one. Put them in there at certain points. Uh, welcome
If
everybody.
we get to where we're cursing too much, just start putting whoops and shit.
Yeah, it's just right in the middle of it.
Or a cat. You got to put a cat in there too. So.
I sound like a baby squatch when I whoop. I don't have a manly, big Sasquatch voice like y'all.
I have never once whooped, so.
You haven't?
No.
You're a whoop virgin?
Yeah. Oh. I let Randy take care of my whoops.
You're gonna have to do it. You gotta do it at least once. Is that your one thing of like keeping away from going full Sasquatch?
I guess, man. I went and looked at a job yesterday and somebody was giving me Bigfoot stickers and I'm like, oh, thanks.
Like just randomly giving you Bigfoot stickers?
They knew. Like it wasn't, they knew that. And I still, like, I'm driving around with Archie in my front seat. So the wind's just blowing him as I'm, driving down the road. It's feeling all nice. So I'm rolling down the window.
The minute you start telling me
just like
the big
straight out the passenger window.
So anyone at like the stop sign just kind of looks over and sees Archie staring back at you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Actually, I was going to send a picture of this to you guys if I still have it.
You're going to have to ride the strip when it comes that, ride the strip knot with Archie.
Yeah. Hanging out the window. Randy, you can be in the big suit and hang out the other side. Be in the back or back.
According to what he's saying.
Yeah, you're going to have to sit in the bed of the truck.
Yeah. Light you up and stuff.
Ooh. Here, I sent y'all that because I had to move it today to the back seat, and she was not impressed.
She looks so upset. Oh, that's too funny. She needs to take care of Archie for us. That's going to be Indy's job.
I mean, she likes it. She just calls it Monster.
She's not wrong.
She'll hum the Old McDonald and be like, Monster. No. E-I-E-I-O, Monster.
Oh, this is funny. Welcome, everyone, to the 40 in Tennessee podcast. I'm Josh, here with Randy in Houston. And for this episode, we got a special guest coming in. Mary Joyce, author of several books. Cherokee Little People Were Real, Underground Military Bases Hidden in North Carolina Mountains, Spy in the Sky, Bigfoot, Beyond the Footprints, and well known for, what was the other one, Randy? Sky Ships Over Cashier?
Sky Ships Over Cashiers is her website, yes.
Oh, that's her website. She'll be joining us shortly. Hope you enjoyed that little insight into our world as Bigfooters for the intro. As we prepare for the Tennessee Wildman and Cryptid Convention, August 16th in McMinnville, Tennessee, we got our mascot has been riding around in Houston's truck. So, Archie, if you're in the area and you see him hanging out, give him a wave. Honk if you like Bigfoot at Houston.
Send me stickers and memorabilia.
Look, the minute you start telling people that you're into Bigfoot, that's one thing. The minute you tell them that you go and look for them or you go out and do stuff, you start getting Bigfoot presents. The amount of
like offerings,
Bigfoot Christmas gifts I get, like just Bigfoot ornaments, Bigfoot T-shirts from friends, like they'll be like, "You like Sasquatch? Here you go." I'm like, "Yeah, thanks."
Yeah. Have you ever worn one?
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't. Yeah, I'm not gonna put that sticker anywhere.
I have.
Well, you should, man.
I was actually gonna give it to Randy next time I saw him. So,
well, I'll put it.
We just pass on gifts. Like,
I have like the only like Bigfoot apparel I have is our first year's like the T-shirts people made for us. from the first
do have that.
convention. And then I just saw Ethan wearing it when he walked behind you. And I got the Hellbent Holler custom hoodie I have.
Did we have a shirt the second year?
Your second year, yeah.
Did we have a shirt a second year?
Yeah.
We did? Is that the
Yeah.
one I'm talking about? The white
That's
one?
the one you just saw. Yeah.
Oh,
just
okay,
walked
that's the one then.
So did we get one the first year?
No.
No.
Okay.
Thought we had T-shirt people. That was the second year.
Yeah, second year, yeah. We had like 8 made. So
yeah. And somehow I got a medium, and I was like, no. Kayla wears it for pajamas. I mean,
just medium on you.
Yeah.
No, you should wear that for when we do our group photo, so you look ripped, dude.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna look in that picture.
I mean, today though we're gonna be talking about Cherokee Little People with Mary Joyce. Very exciting. Randy's a fan. You've been a fan of hers.
Yes, for years. Years.
When did you start reading her stuff?
On the, because we would get reports would trickle into us over the years of seeing little people, cryptid little people. And when you look up that subject online, it goes very, very few places. And one of the places that it goes, and you'll just actually get a ton of information, is Mary Joyce if you look her up online. And so I became a fan from there, from just all the research she'd done there in North Carolina.
I thought you were gonna say like there was like you had like a group name for following. You know how like Taylor Swift has the Swifties. I thought you were about to be like the Joyceys, like
The
us
Joyceys.
And girling.
Yeah, fangirling type thing.
The Joyceys, I have to remember that.
So what she has done a lot of research on this. Then
yes,
she's like kind of one of the main folks on this,
especially in Western North Carolina. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is gonna be fun then.
It should be, yeah.
Bringing in, we're getting some guests in. Darby episode was really fun. Having Mary Joyce, and then we got some more people that are gonna be coming in, especially as we lead up to the convention.
Yeah. Yep.
Getting all the guests on.
We should have a guest next week too, but we'll keep that under who's going to be.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one too. That'll be fun. Guys, watch any weird stuff? You guys watching any weird? Anything paranormal? Nothing.
There was good Bigfoot video that came out this week that supposedly is years old.
Is that the Independence Day Sasquatch?
No. It's this is looks like FLIR footage.
Oh.
Like someone got it with a FLIR or thermal, something like that. But it's just of something running kind of from almost above. It almost looks like it's taken from a helicopter.
Oh.
But
okay.
You're seeing something big, human-like.
Just kind of
running through the woods.
I don't watch a lot of that stuff. I'm assuming you saw that on Facebook, right?
Yes.
Like
saw it in Daryl Denton's group.
Well, some of those groups too, like they post a lot of stuff like it's obviously fake. And I think they know that too. So it's like a lot of that, man, I just keep scrolling.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of those I used to sit there and try to argue, why those were fake, and I realized that's just
it's hopeless.
Yeah.
When I first got into like doing this and stuff, I remember joining a bunch of Sasquatch Facebook groups just to kind of start feeling out the community and stuff. And there's a few groups out there, man, that I was like, I need to get out of here. There was one group that was they saw Sasquatch everywhere, man. It was in your house. It was
Yep.
It was in reflections in the glass, and it was like, oh, okay, all right. I'm looking for something physical here, guys.
She said she is at her computer waiting.
All right, we're gonna bring Mary Joyce in here, everyone.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah, I'm not too slow. This is all
awesome.
I've never done an interview this way. Ever.
Okay.
Well, we very much appreciate you coming on, Mary.
Wait a second. All right, there you are. Hold on. We're still good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Mary.
Well, Randy, introduce me to these other guys.
All right, Mary. This is Josh Manning over here. He's our team member from Massachusetts,
All right.
and this is Houston Merriman. He's our team member from here in McMinnville, Tennessee.
All right. How did the guy from out of Tennessee get into this group?
Oh wow.
It's a little bit of a long story, but I met Randy back in like 09 or something like that.
Yeah.
I was stationed down in Tennessee, and I met him through a mutual friend, and I was at the event that he had his Bigfoot sighting at. And then a few years later, I was down to do a project with him, and we got on the topic of Bigfoot and like in the area, and he kind of started like for the first time actually talking to someone who's experienced it, like kind of unrolled it in front of me. And I'm a filmmaker by trade, so I was like, I got a camera. Let's go out into the woods and look for these big guys. Uh-oh.
Yeah, we've had some luck.
There he is. He's wiggling now.
Yeah, you froze out there in the middle of that.
Sorry, my internet just like cut out for some reason, so apologies.
That's the way of the world.
Yeah.
By the way, I'll be posting a story Friday evening, and it's the guys from Sasquatch, Ontario. Are you familiar with them?
Yes. Yes.
And they went out, and for the first time in first time ever, they went out in the woods and did live streaming for their followers, and they got lucky, and they got about 4 hours, not 4 hours, about 4 minutes of really good dialogue between or conversation between two Bigfoot.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've ever tried anything like that. He didn't play the whole live stream for the public because it's so long, but he took the part that people would be interested in. And as a filmmaker, it'd be great if you could do something like that.
Yeah, we've with the times I've come down to do expeditions with Randy at our primary site. The first time I went down, we had a lot of activity, but it was hard to capture a lot of the audio out there because it was during the summer. All the insects were out, but we had gotten some really decent footage during the day. That's the one thing about this is like having the camera always ready to go because you never know when something's going to happen.
Right.
And then sometimes something happens, you get the camera going, and then that was the only thing that was going to happen that time.
Can be frustrating.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
I better shut up. It sounds like I'm running the interview.
Oh no. By all means.
So, Mary, you've written several books. One being on Bigfoot, underground military bases being one, and then also the Cherokee Little People. And we have gotten quite a few reports down here of people seeing little people. And also that we have
When you say here, are you talking about Tennessee?
in Tennessee, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Where you're talking from. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I'm currently up in Boston, Mass. Waiting for the thaw to happen. But we've also with the stories of the little people down here is we have a team member that kind of experienced something that aligns up with their mythology, if anything. So I really wanted to talk to you about that and get insight more on this because it's kind of a weird topic and not a lot of people know about it, and it's super intriguing to me.
Yes, extremely.
Because we've got reports.
I didn't know a thing about little people until I moved to North Carolina, and I'm here. If you go over the mountain on the north side of me, that's the Cherokee Indian Reservation. And so in this area, you get to hear about the little people. That's not unusual. But I always thought it was just mythology, old stories, I don't know what. But one day, a elderly man came into where I was working And we'd have many conversations. And one day we got into this conversation about little people, and he said, "Hey, they're real." And when he was a young man after World War II, he was involved with early construction at Western Carolina University, which is about, 20 minutes away from me. And he said every time they dug into virgin soil, what they thought was virgin soil, they would find these little tunnels, which are square cut with an arched ceiling, which makes it stronger so it won't cave in. They were all dug into this really dense red clay. And they also found, well, they found them everywhere they would do construction. It was like there was a whole city, underground city, where these little people had on his desk, kind of a decorative paperweight. And one day a teacher from the high school came in and looked at it, and she picked it up and she said, "This is not a child's skull," which is what he thought it was. She says it has all of its wisdom teeth. And so that was one of the things. The whole skeleton was found when they were digging. Um, the skull was on this professor's desk, and the rest of it was on his mantle. So at home. So go figure. The decor at his house certainly isn't being controlled by his wife.
Yeah. I'm gonna have all these skulls mounted up, honey.
Not on the mantle. Oh,
So what led you into like doing a book on the Cherokee Little People? Like,
I didn't find anything that had been written about anything in this area, and so I really did it to preserve information. All the man that I met introduced me to lots of old timers who had been involved in construction at WCU, and without him, I would never have met the other men. He, in the mountains, they're not going to just open the door and start talking to somebody. Just a minute. Excuse me, got interrupted.
it's okay. It's
You're
okay.
fine.
It happens. Did you see me?
Yeah.
Anyhow, um, I just wanted to preserve it. And all these guys were, for the most part, in their 80s, late, close to 90. And once they were passed away, that information would be gone. And I just didn't want to see that happen. Originally, I just preserved the information for the local museums and the local university. But then it went beyond that because there is quite a bit of interest.
Um, were you ever able to see these tunnels that they talked about, or do they have photos of them or any?
Um, I've seen stuff, but I, it's those situations where you don't have a camera, you don't know you're going to have a peek at anything.
Yeah.
You understand that. So they're all basically about 2.5 feet wide. I mean, they'll vary some, and about 3.5 feet tall, 4 at the most. Um, most people tell me that the ones that have seen the little people, and there are still little people, but most people don't see them, and they're about 3.5 feet tall.
Well, we've got
So,
reports about them,
yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
and that's I think I'll let Randy take over from here for that. I mean, I when the little people lore started kind of coming up, and Randy started talking about them to me, I was like, oh, this is cool mythology and stuff. And he's like, no, we've got reports.
What thought it was mythology.
Randy, you want to tell her a couple of the reports that we've gotten?
I think I've told her about it before, but like for instance, the most recent one we got a couple
Sorry, guys, we're having technical difficulties right now.
backyard, and at the end of her yard, up against the wood line, they had one of those little vinyl houses, like that you store stuff in, like vinyl storage houses, and said it was all overgrown. And she said, I watched as something opened this thing from the inside, and she watched what she said looked like a little man about 3 feet tall, come skulking out. And the way she put it was walking like it didn't want to be seen, and said that it was pushed up against that vinyl house and kind of just went around the corner and went all the way up to the wood line and just disappeared in the wood line.
Well, they don't want to be seen. and it's very few people that see them. It's kind of the Cherokee around here, the old timers, will still put food out for the little people. And the humorous side of that is that if they forget to put some food out, they'll start to get pebbles thrown on their roof as if to remind them, hey, we're still here.
Did you forget to do
Really?
something?
Yeah, it's time. Where's the food?
So, what is the historic relation between the little people and the Cherokee throughout all this?
From everything I have pieced together, the little people were here first. The Cherokee originated from the Great Lakes region and sometime in the ancient past migrated down to the Appalachian Mountains. And when they arrived, the little people were here. They, the stories that I hear was that they first saw these blue gardens, but there were no people around, and they were very perplexed. And then one night they saw the little people coming out from beneath the ground to collect the things from their little gardens. And so the little people were originally called the moon people because they would come out at night. Some people think it's because of the eyes, and they call it the moon-eyed people. But that's the oldest story I can find. It makes more sense to call them the moon people because they came out at night. So because the little people descriptions that have heard from people who have seen them, they have normal looking eyes. They don't have like ET eyes, which is what some people get stuck on. They think, oh, it's the moon-eyed people like the ETs.
Like, what can you tell us about their culture then? Like, what were you able to piece together on that?
Of the little people
Yeah,
themselves,
yeah, the little
well,
people themselves.
mostly in survival mode, just like the Bigfoot are. They we contemporary people have taken over everything.
Mhm.
So it's more like trying to stay out of our range and to survive. So the culture and stuff, I don't know if it's as dominant as it would have been once upon a time. There is an old, um, it's a petroglyph. It's a great big rock. Off the top of my head, I would say it was maybe 15 feet by 8 feet or something like that. And there's markings all over it. The Cherokee do not know what those mean. And that those carvings were there before the Cherokee. So clearly it was a whole different culture and what, the petroglyphs also support that.
Are there pictures of that anywhere that you have?
Yeah, I do have them in the book. And if you, let's see if I remember how to spell it. Hmm, Judicolor rock. And
Cuticle Rock, yes.
what it's known today. And if you look that up, you will find it. If you search hard enough, you'll find one of the old pictures that was taken um, a long, long time ago.
Yeah, I just asked because we have similar stuff like that here.
How do you mean?
Just so as markings and stuff like that.
That
We
people
have
don't
what is do what now?
that people don't can't comprehend or don't know what it
Yeah,
means.
yeah, they've made up stories about it because they're like, oh, well, maybe it's maps of this or star map. I mean, like we've heard all kinds of stuff, but nobody knows.
Right, and nobody knows here either. I've heard one Cherokee man, declare such and such and such and such, and because he's Cherokee, people might believe him, but I don't. I really don't think anybody knows.
Yeah,
Um,
same boat here.
when did you marry? Like, as you said, you got into this, and like me, you were like, oh wow, this is a great mythology. When did you all of a sudden did it click for you that you're like, oh no, this is real. This was a real people.
Elderly man that I mentioned, his name was Walter Middleton. He had such a good reputation. He was a World War II veteran. He was the pastor of one of these mountain churches in this area, very well respected. And when he told me they were real, and he told me his story about early construction at Western, I began to take it seriously. And then, of course, he took me and introduced me to these other men who had also seen the original evidence. And so one year I was spending a lot of Saturday mornings around kitchen tables interviewing these old timers.
Oh, that must have been great though.
Did,
It was.
did any of these guys have,
Sorry you weren't there with your camera. That would have been great.
I know, right?
did any of the construction workers actually have sightings, or did they just see evidence of the caves?
Let's see if any of those guys did. The ones that did the construction only saw the physical evidence.
Gotcha.
People who have actually seen them, for the most part, have all been Cherokee. And that's another door that is not easy to open. You don't just go up to,
Yeah.
you know, some Cherokee and say, hey, what do you know about little people? Well, you're not going to get anywhere. So that took some connections, one person vouching for another. In fact, it gets real basic. One lady was a waitress at one of the places I used to go to all the time. And she told me about this Indian woman and that she had contact with the little people. So the waitress had to work on the Cherokee woman, and she finally came around and was willing to talk to me. And she had some pretty good stories. And let's see if I can bring them back. One of them was really kind of cute. Her family had uh, some land up at the top of one of the mountains. It's an area called Big Cove in Cherokee. And that's where they would have family gatherings or clan gatherings. And they had an old trailer there just so they would have a kitchen and a bathroom, and everything else was outside. Well, the kids were playing hide and seek, and uh, she chose to hide in the cabinets or in the cottage itself or the trailer itself. And when she went and pulled back the shower curtain, there was a little Indian man just grinning at her, and he was
That's terrifying.
But well, she ran to her daddy. That's true. It scared her too. Just the suddenness of it is what scares people.
Yeah.
I mean, your own mother would scare you if she just suddenly appeared behind the door. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
We
somebody
have
like just started.
we have a running joke that we would be more terrified if we saw one of these little people than if we would run into a Sasquatch out in the woods, because
Yeah.
that would mess us up more mentally.
It would really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it would. It would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's probably more around too.
I mean, bigger sounds scarier than little. My goodness.
We've had this conversation, and one thing I've always toyed in my head is there's a lot of stuff that, like, with the little people that kind of line up with, like, kind of Sasquatch activity that even in our area, I'm like, I'm telling you, if this turns out to be Cherokee Little People, I don't know what I'm doing, because I've been thinking I've been chasing Sasquatch the whole time. And it's been a real thought in my head, being like, what if this turns out to be really weird, way weirder than you thought?
It's a good story too.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great
Really, you
story.
can't lose. It doesn't matter who shows up.
This is true. Yeah.
So
Mary, have you heard stories about little people bringing back things that people have lost?
Let me think a second. Not really. Those kind of exchange stories are usually more Bigfoot stories.
Okay.
You know, the Bigfoot will. We did a lot of things with Bigfoot where there would be exchanges, and but not. I don't know off the top of my head anything with the little people. No.
Okay.
Well, we weren't purposely doing exchanges. It would be stuff that would end up like being lost and then just randomly putting the trail somewhere we knew we had not been in the past, or on that, trip that we took, it would just show up in front of
Right.
us. Like, wow, how
Well,
did this
that sounds like Bigfoot. They know. You know, I get a real. I don't know if I get amused or I don't know, irritated with these shows on TV where they're chasing Bigfoot. Come on, the Bigfoot hear them coming a zillion miles away.
Oh yeah.
Bigfoot
Oh yeah.
aren't stick around for them to catch them, and I just get annoyed that they go on and on and on, and they never get anything. And one of the men that I interviewed for the book, who had Bigfoot living on his land, he said the Bigfoot essentially say that we humans are like coming through with a megaphone. We're so loud in our thoughts and our thinking and everything that, you know, we announce we're coming long, long before we think anybody would know about us.
that's what I thought. It's always like they know we're already here when we
And like
pick them up.
the story that's going to be posted on our website, which is skyshipsovercaches.com, Friday evening, they were able to get the recordings that they got because they already had spent years interacting with the Bigfoot that live in that area. So the Bigfoot aren't going to run off and hide when they get there. Makes a huge difference. If those guys had shown up in the same area,
Apologies again for the technical difficulties.
There's something wrong with Boston. Boston's frozen again.
There he is.
I don't know why. I don't know what is happening. This is like not normal for me. I don't know
Yeah,
what's happening.
usually the one that's good. So, do we know what happened to the skull?
It was here at the university for a while. The last I heard, all of that stuff got shipped away to, I don't know if it was the Smithsonian. I think it was, which means we may never see it again. You guys may be fully aware of people finding um, giant skeletons throughout the country, especially in the 1800s and early 1900s. And they
Yeah.
were calling the Smithsonian, and they would never see it again.
We had
And
MK Davis at our convention last year, and he educated me on all that.
yeah,
He
it's
talked about
really sad. So if the little people stuff has ended up in a place like that, we may never see it again.
well, Randy, there was a kind of a kickoff for us to get into this was the the construction that happened nearby that they dug up what seemed to be like a mass grave, right?
In Hillsborough. Yeah,
Tennessee is known for that. You guys have probably already talked about that a lot, haven't you?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We
we discussed it.
that's about 12 miles from us where they found that mass grave back in the 1870s.
He
So-
must be asking one of you guys.
No, I'm just rattling
Just
off.
throwing it out there.
No, he's just rattling off the date. That's all. So there was a I don't know. I might be butchering this, but did the Cherokee go to war with the little people?
I was real surprised to hear this. Um, according to the Cherokee, and now I'm getting the stories from Cherokee people, according to them, there were two kinds of little people. There were the little people that looked like pretty much like the Cherokee, like Native Americans, only in a small form. And then there were some that had red whiskers. I don't know. I just remember the red whiskers. There's more to it than that. And they didn't like them and they just assumed kill them. So I don't know what the difference is. The fact that they had red whiskers makes me think of leprechauns.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
In fact, in my book, I've got this profile of a leprechaun and a profile of one of the rocks that has a carving of a little thing with pointed ears and a nose. And it was found, we know it's really old because there was a major flood back in the 1940s and everything got washed away on the Tuckasegee River. And there was this little bit, I knew him as a man, but as a little boy, he found what he called a lead head. And it was it was very heavy. That's the reason he called it a lead head. And it had like a leprechaun's face on each side. It had a seam around the edge, so it had been cast. And it was washed up from the deep soil. So it's really quite old. And I have a photo of it in the book, again, next to a profile of a leprechaun. And there's quite a bit of similarity, which would indicate that those guys with the whiskers might truly have existed.
Interesting. I never heard of the whisker
Yeah.
ones. That's wild.
Oh, it was new to me too. And I thought, oh, why are they killing the little people? And for some reason, they didn't like them. But just that kind.
Now, did the little people I cut out, of course. Sorry for the technical difficulties. There we go.
Full.
I guess I'm
Have
back.
you ever heard about any of that stuff?
I don't know. I have heard that if you piss them off, they'll get back at you somehow or another. I don't know if it's any dreadful attack, but they'll be annoying. Don't mess with the little people. I'll give you the story from. I went out to South Dakota and went to the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation out there,
Oh, nice.
and also went. Well, I went to several places out there. I got to meet a woman who at the time was 29. Her grandfather was a shaman. Her brother had also become a shaman, and she had like this real intuitive ability. And she told me about a couple of stories. One of them, they took her grandmother out to a creek so she could fish, and then the kids went further down the creek to play in the water or to swim in the creek. And a couple of things happened. One, they heard something in the water and then bubbles and something disappeared in the water. And then, oh, let's see if I can't remember all of the stories, but eventually they found this little cave along this creek. And in it, some of the boys went in and they found these little bows, little arrows, and little, what do you call quivers. And they took them and they took them home. And the grandfather said, "You need to return those." And this is about the little people being pissed off. And what happened after that for a while, they had, trouble with the chickens disappearing and different kinds of things that had never happened before. And I kind of sympathize with the little people. They're kind of small. And how else can they let you know that they need to be left alone? So they made themselves annoying for a while. But that was the reason, because these teenage boys had taken their stuff.
Oh, that must have been a summer to remember then. Now,
And now, by the way, the teenagers of any race apparently are the ones that can cause a lot of trouble. You're more likely to see, if you're just out, not like you guys doing the research, but if you're just out and you just happen to see a Bigfoot running in places that they shouldn't be, they're more likely the young Bigfoot. And that seems to be pretty definite. Then I went out to a place in the far eastern part of Tennessee, which is actually north of where I am.
Mm-hmm.
And the man had about 200 acres on a river, very, very hilly and wooded and nice piece of land. And he had some kind of native blood in him. And they've had little people living on their land since before he existed. Um, I don't know where to go with that. I don't know where I was going to go with that story. There's so many. I go, what do I do with these? But um,
You were talking about the teenagers. Like,
teenagers. It was the teenagers. He said it was the teenagers that were always usually the male teenagers were usually causing the trouble. He said one day he was out in the woods and he didn't see him, but there was a little person up in the tree. And when the man came by, he swung down like this, so his face is looking in his face. That was just a little teenage boy being playful.
yeah, trying to be edgy.
I don't edgy,
That
yeah.
would traumatize me.
Yeah.
So it's we don't have to talk about humans. Humans, Bigfoot, and little people, all the teens are the ones likely to cause some of the mischief.
Now, you said when the Cherokee moved into this area, do they have stories of when they first showed up and made contact with the little people?
The earliest story is the one I told you about, seeing the little gardens, and that then they finally saw them coming out at night.
But there was no slating or anything like that.
Not that I've ever heard.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Good. Did they have like a trade relation with the little people in the forest there?
You don't know?
You don't know.
I don't know.
Because I know they talk about like trade relations with the Bigfoot and stuff. They would leave stuff out.
The only time that I may have seen a little person was let me back up a little bit. Most of my life, I had jobs that really required me to travel a lot and be busy a lot. And so when I moved to the mountains, I wanted more time to myself. And I took a job as a manager of a health food store. That proved to be a wonderful place to make connections. I can't believe how many connections I made that just opened up into great stories. And there was a Cherokee woman who I became friends with just talking across the counter. And she said that her granddaughter was probably a little person. I'm going, how can this be? Well, her father was Hawaiian, and they have the little people there, and the Cherokee have the little people here. So the child was getting genetics from two lines that both have little people.
Ah.
And anyhow, one day after explaining all this, she brought her granddaughter in to see me, and she had the shape of a full-grown Cherokee woman. But she was very, very short, and her eyes were the only thing I saw over the top of the counter. And she always wore um, sunglasses, rose-colored sunglasses, no less, because the light bothered her eyes. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know if there's a genetic thing like, involved with that because the original Cherokee little people were living in caves. Is it possible their eyes are more sensitive to light? I don't know. She also was very sensitive to diseases that she didn't have the immunity that many people have in the regular culture. And she eventually she could hardly ever go to school. And so she had to be trained at home. Um, but that may have been the only little person I actually saw.
That's wild. That's interesting.
So I was actually going to ask you, and you just brought it up. Like, do you guys have a lot of caves in that area?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's the same with us, and so it's just kind
Right.
of neat.
The little people and the Bigfoot all use the caves. Some of the underground bases we have here in the mountains, I think may have uh, been established here because they were able to expand existing caves already. Um,
We've been told similar things in this area too.
yeah, because you're all in Tennessee. You're part of this same kind of structure.
Yeah.
I will tell you, this is one of the most complete Bigfoot stories that I've ever been involved with. And again, it's interesting. A hairdresser was the one who first heard about it. And this woman would talk to her, a client would talk to her about having Bigfoot on her land. And she told her a lot of stuff. So it took the hairdresser, who I happen to know through the health food store, it took her quite a while to convince this lady again to talk to me. And she did. And I finally got to go out to her property. Interesting piece of land. It was up at the top of a ridge. It was a gravel road. And then from the gravel road, you took a single lane road between two ridges with a creek running between the two ridges and a road, single road going beside it. And so you go a mile down that road and it opens up into a small bowl-shaped valley. And there's two houses, a barn and a pond. And the reason that I was there is because the Bigfoot had suddenly started causing trouble. They knew, the woman knew that the Bigfoot had been there for a long time, but there had never been a problem. Now, I won't tell this and hang you on until the very end. What happened was they had built this pond by creating a dam to dam up the creek. Somebody was out there one day with a jackhammer trying to do some repairs, went right through, and all the water went down into what was a cave beneath the pond. And it was the place where the Bigfoot lived. They were really pissed off. And they started messing with the cars. And then they started messing with the little house. And the woman had three children. I think the oldest was in her late teens. Um, and her parents used to live in the big house. It's like a family commune. The father died, the mother moved, that big house was empty. Well, the Bigfoot messed with the little house, and I have pictures of their handprints all over the door. One day, the woman went to town and she left the laundry, and you could see it spitting through the glass in the door. And the Bigfoot got in there, and their handprints were all over it because they were intrigued by the movement of the clothes in the clothes washer. So the woman moved to the big house, thinking maybe they'd leave her alone there. They moved in there. Same thing happened. What was interesting is that they didn't mess with the first floor of the house that much. They liked the upstairs, and they did things like tear up the toilet. We have mixed feelings about the fact that they didn't know what to do with the toilet. Most of the time, we felt grateful because who would want to deal with that mess? But at the same time, we're going, oh, that would make a really good specimen.
Yeah.
And there were claw marks where the teenage daughter had locked her bedroom door, and there were claw marks like this that went under the door, and then you could see the scratch marks. They were trying to, yank the door open.
Oh.
There were, yeah, it got really kind of bad.
That's scary stuff.
And I've got pictures of the claw marks. I mean, we're talking serious claw marks. And it wasn't, the Bigfoot had children. I mean, there were smaller ones, you could tell by the footprints. And it must have been the little ones who chose to draw on the wall. They were taking markers, and all the scribbles and stuff were done beneath the light switch. Now, a full-grown Bigfoot isn't going to squat down that low to do scribbles.
Yeah.
So that was probably done by the kids. So we have those pictures. And the second time I went out there, we took somebody who has the ability to kind of communicate kind of naturally with everybody, I guess. And she tried to let them know that it was not intentional that they flooded, that their home or their cave was flooded, that was an accident. And when we went back later, we were on the front porch and we're hearing about this. And we look over, and in front of the front door, which they never used, they always came in the back way. And that day were on the front porch. There was a piece of burlap kind of made into a basket, had some different things in it. In some, I can't off the top of the head tell me what they were. And it was left in front of the door. It was like a peace offering because there was no trouble after that.
Oh,
so it was quite a story.
was this in Western North Carolina?
Yeah, it's here, and it's about 45 minutes from where I am.
Oh, nice.
So they came in the house. They got into.
Oh yeah. Oh, they came in the house. Yeah, you don't want mad Bigfoot in your house.
No. I've heard lots of.
I don't want happy Bigfoot in my house.
But the woman, she moved off the property totally by the time this happened with the gift. And whenever she returned to the property, she had a bodyguard with a gun. And she was just that frightened. And if your house got invaded the way those two houses were invaded, you can understand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
So, because you've done books on stuff that I'm very interested in. So, I mean, what can you tell us about some of did you have like underground military bases in your area? Was that, what sparked that interest for you to look into that?
This is why I'm so grateful that I had this job at the health food store. That's another one that connection was made at the health food store. And there was this couple that would come in on a regular basis, kind of shy, and would start conversations about UFOs. And so one day I said, now this went on for some time. And one day I said, well, how about if we get together and I can interview you and do a story? And they agreed. And I met them at their camper trailer in the Smoky Mountain National Park, someplace around there. And that was not the reason she wanted to talk to me. She wanted to tell me about the underground facility, here in Jackson County or Western North Carolina. And she and her husband spent all that time seeing if they could trust me before they told me their story. She had been raised with a father who was in very secretive, classified work. And
God damn it. Sorry again, guys. A lot technical difficulties on my end. I have no idea what's happening.
Of all the people who worked there were threatened. If they talked, they would suddenly find that somebody had a heart attack. He doesn't know that breaking my train of thought is just terrible. I go, oh, right. What was I saying?
You were at the part where they were that if anyone talked, they would.
Yeah, and she had witnessed that perfectly healthy people were suddenly disabled and unable to talk or had a heart attack. And so they literally were scared to ever say anything. So she was raised in that kind of background, knew more than I would ever learn from her. But because of her father's background, she knew about this facility that's here in the mountains, real close to Cashers, actually. And let's see, what can I say about it? She said it was 6 stories deep. And one of the things that stuck in my mind was that she said they had the power to wipe away memories. And when I later investigated the place with always with other people, whenever I would get close to it, both myself and the people in the car would have this strange sensation in their head. And as soon as we would turn around, it would kind of let up. If we turned around and went back, it would start to happen again. I call it people repellent. And I think it was some kind of electromagnetic energy that was being pulsed out to keep people at bay. So I ended up doing lots of research after that and got all sorts of information from other people that confirmed what she was telling me.
Huh. Do you know what they were doing there? Was there any inclination of what they were using the facilities for?
The thing that stuck in my mind was the fact that she said that it looked like they were doing mind control and that kind of thing. All right, I can throw you some more pieces out here. You can put the puzzle together as much as I can. After I'd run one of these stories, I was contacted by somebody in social services in a town just to the south of there.
Mhm.
And he said that there were satanic reports that came out of there, and that when he reported it to the State Bureau of Investigation, they kind of took the case away from him and everything was shut up about it. So yeah, there's something of a nefarious sort going on there. Now, I'm not saying that is true of all the facilities. I don't think that is, but that seems to be something that was
Apologies, folk. Apology, folks, for the such bad technical issues today.
operation during the Cold War.
Yeah.
And then they moved out of there supposedly, and an astronomical research institute is in there now supposedly. But even though that switch has been made, people have seen, not all the time, but on occasions, military men in SWAT outfits guarding the gate. So sometimes you can get in there and sometimes people have been stopped.
Oh. So you can get
All right,
in
so
there too.
I need some pointers here because apparently you just worked at a grocery store and learned all of this stuff. So how would
No,
you get this
no,
information?
no. I worked at a health food store. A health
Okay.
food store was very
You're right, man.
I would never had these conversations in a grocery store. Never, ever, ever. A health food store, I don't know. There's just something different about health food stores, and people will talk more freely once they find out that you're trustworthy. So
So
a lot of
you
good stories.
never like brought up like there's times like where me and Randy go into like
Well,
parts.
people know that I've have been doing stuff about UFOs since
Gotcha.
anyhow for a very long time. So that's not a secret. So that would be a door opener for some of this.
That's true.
And some of it, like with the little people, was just one of those off the cuff conversations about Cherokee Little People. And then one thing led to another. That would never happen at the grocery store. I promise you it never would.
I wish it would though. That'd be great. Why, Houston? Are you having trouble getting people to
It's
text?
just like it's always when we go out and we're talking to some of these people in the areas and you want to ask. It's like, oh, have you ever had any activity and stuff? But you don't want to like them to think you're crazy when you're talking about it. You know, like you can't just be like, oh, you've seen a Bigfoot out there?
I've never gotten a good story with that approach.
Right.
No, it
It's
doesn't.
true. Yeah.
It does not work.
You gotta
Yeah.
let them know you're into weird stuff, and then they'll open up. Like it's like you gotta ease them in. You know. to the
Yeah,
cold water.
yeah. You can't just go up and ask. I wouldn't have gotten any of the Cherokees to open up about little people. I wouldn't have gotten any of the people to open up the underground bases. It just wouldn't have happened. And unless you have to clear the path and they have to know that it's safe and
Yeah.
that, it just doesn't happen just because you want it to.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm asking. Like you apparently have a good track record, so whatever you was doing was working.
Yeah, so I'll go get a job at a health food store and be friendly and talk to
That's what I'm doing next. I'm gonna go in a health food store. I'm gonna
I never thought a health food store would be an opening up for anything. I really didn't.
yeah, lead you down this path. So
Yeah.
when did you first? Because you said you've been doing this a long time. When did you first publish a book, or what? Like, do you know what year?
Oh, good God. It's all been I don't know, 2013, I think, is my first book. I
Okay.
think. Statistics just don't stick in my head. They
Mhm.
just don't.
Gotcha.
What else? Subject is good here.
When you've Mary, when you've had people that have said that they've seen them, I noticed you said that one of the
Are we
descriptions.
talking little people?
Yeah, the little. I'm sorry. Yeah, the little people.
Okay.
You said they look like little Native Americans, right?
Mm-hmm. That's how they look. That's how they're described by everybody, and they're perfectly proportioned. You know, they they're not dwarfs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they?
That's what I found it really interesting about your descriptions of them like that is when we've had people talk to us about the sightings that they've had, they basically said they look like a little person, like
Yeah,
that
just look like a
they didn't
miniature
describe
more.
them as being like hairy little monsters or anything like that.
Mm-mm.
It's just a miniature little human.
Right, that look like natives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they weren't always clothed the same either, right?
No. Well, a lot of the ones that when they've talked to us, they've been naked. So
Oh
is that common with yours?
no, ours are more modest.
Oh, okay.
Go
No, I've
wild
never
ones
heard.
down here.
Oh no, wait a second. Wait a second. Hold it. You're triggering something. Um, on a ridge, real just 2 ridges over from where I live. There's a couple that lives at the top of one of those ridges, and they have a what do you call it? A webcam set up by their driveway or game cam.
Mm-hmm.
And one August, I've forgotten how far back it goes now. A bird or something flew in front of it and triggered the camera to go off. And off in the distance was a little person, um, and had the black hair like a Native American. Was almost nude, but it was summer. It was August and it was hot, and probably just had more like a loincloth on. It was not a real clear picture. In fact, the couple argued between the two of them about whether they should tell me about it. One thought it was just a spirit, and another one thought it was a real little person. And so they finally sent me the photos. And what I did was, if you get it on the computer and you turn up the contrast really, really high, anything that is alive will go into a magenta color. Anything that's like a spirit will not. It'll stay white. And it went magenta. And in the posting I did with that, um, I showed what are supposed to be authentic ghost photos. And there was one where there was a small child on the floor playing in a living room, and there was a ghost on its hands and knees playing with the child. And so the ghost was transparent and kind of, white, what a white transparent ghost looks like,
Mhm.
but had a human form. And when I took that picture and increased the contrast, the young child turned magenta and the ghost stayed white. So that was a way of confirming that that was not, some kind of spirit or
Some kind of ghost. Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of the encounter stories we've gotten with the little people is they're wearing what looks like scavenged trash.
Well, that might be true. They probably do. I haven't heard it described that.
Camouflage. That's what
But
I
they probably sneak in at night sometime and find clothing to wear, I'm guessing.
They could take some of my socks. That's probably what they're probably taking my socks.
That's where your socks disappear too.
Yeah, it's the little people taking it.
Goodness.
Well, I think
The guy with all the guitars, what's your line of work?
I'm in construction as well.
Okay. Construction in the cities or out in the country or
Both.
both?
Yeah.
Well, maybe when you're out in the country, you can start opening up some doors for conversation.
Yeah.
you start.
No, we do. Like I said, we do have those conversations, but again, it's always like, so Randy does get a lot of people that knows that, hey, his history, you can usually go to Randy to tell, your stories if you saw anything. Like
Randy's the Bigfoot guy in town.
Yes. Where I was just kind of like joking is, again, where we go to some places that kind of looks like it would be some of our research areas, similarities, and caves and all this stuff, it's kind of like approaching them to say like, hey, like, you ever had anything weird happen or whatever. And again, like, you do get some weird stories where it's like, oh, somebody will tell it a ghost story, or I have got one where they talked about that they were hunting and they swore they saw what they thought was just like a big white looking Sasquatch. And of course, they didn't say Sasquatch. It was just like something out there, was furry and white. They ran from it and everybody was scared. Like, you get stuff like that. But again, I was just kind of commenting on how you got all of this to where you have material to write all these books. And so it's like, well, what do we need to do different to kind of,
Yeah. Like,
Oh, takes a little bit of patience, and you got to work your connections.
right.
in my circle up here, people know me as the Bigfoot guy. So they don't come to me with any encounters because nothing really happens up here that way. And
I was going to say Boston can't be a good place for this.
No, I have to travel down south. I have to come down to where they are. But I get a lot of people. They find a Bigfoot thing or story. That's what they usually come to me about, or they come to me a bit about like, hey, I heard you went out into the Appalachians. Like, what happened? Like, there's a lot of interest in the subject from people normally.
Yeah.
Which is fun. I like being able to like tell people what I experienced out there, and I went out kind of being like, well, let's see, and I got a rude awakening.
It's easier too, like, since we've started doing the convention, which I know Randy's talked to you about, coming down sometime and maybe speaking to that. But just doing that, like, the people up front at the desk, like, they were just kind of laughing about it and all that. And then after the convention and we had all these people show up, they were kind of, talking to me, and one of them was like, oh, UFO encounter and all this, it's like, well, people started being like, oh, okay, well, he's not going to make fun of me, so I feel comfortable telling him this story.
Yeah, I wish people weren't so afraid of telling what they have seen. It's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you get people to open up about it, especially like Randy has opened up the convention with his opening ceremonies, but also being like, hey, we're not here to discount anyone's experiences. We want people to be able to come out and share that with others and be felt like they're heard, and not be discounted or called crazy or anything like that. Because, I was never in that camp, but I was always someone that was like very skeptical with some stuff until I went and had my own experiences. And I'm like, we don't know what's going on out here. We have no idea what's happening out here.
What's the most dramatic thing you've experienced yourself?
So, when I first did this, Randy was, I was like, I'll come down with equipment and we'll try to get something on camera. Randy was like, we can't just do a weekend. It can't just be a couple days. If you come down, it has to be for like 10 days or more. And I was like, let's do it. We had got somebody to back us to rent the site. So we had the whole site to ourselves. But prior to going to the primary site, we went to a site the day before so I could test out equipment, just because I wanted to test it out in the Tennessee heat and make sure I'm not lugging around too much equipment that I don't need to be. And we went to a location that Randy had experienced an encounter back in his teenage years. And we went in, and within the first 5-6 minutes of walking in, I had a rock thrown at me. We got it on camera. We got footsteps running away from us. We trailed those footsteps, followed them deeper up into this mountain quarry. And we came back, and that's when it got, the second half of it is when it got even more intense. Was we got contact, what sounded like someone was just off the wood line getting our attention by clacking rocks. And what really turned it for me for being like, oh, it's an animal or something like that, because we didn't know what it was. I started whistling in like beats to it, and it was responding back in those beats.
Good.
So
it's a good thing. Cool.
I was getting like I had communication in some form. And then we walked out of those woods that first day, and Randy just looked at me and goes, I'm so sorry, man. I was speechless. I was speechless because I kind of walked in going like, let's see what happens. There's Bigfoot out here or whatever.
I mean, Randy was apologizing because you had the shock of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was, going back and watching the footage, and Yeah, it was eye opening. I remember calling my girlfriend
That's
at the time.
unbelievable for the first time. Wow.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting it. And I've always thought about that as like maybe that's why they did it. It's because I was just out there and I'm like, oh, we're just hiking up the mountain, you know? Like
Well, if they're really, really smart and they know what you're good at, then they wanted to get you involved.
they definitely did. They definitely did. I'm
Or
to trek down.
That's possible because we need proof. Um, but we need proof, but we also can't put the Bigfoot in jeopardy.
That has been a thing since I was a kid. When I was a kid, I remember telling because I've always been interested in it, being like, I want to look for Bigfoot. My aunts and uncles would be like, what if you do if you find it? And I'm like, well, I just want to get a picture of it. I never went. They're like, you're not gonna capture it. I'm like, I don't think I can. Like, I don't think I'd be able to. I was like, then they just stick them in a zoo, and it would be really bad. I don't know.
That would be awful. That would truly be awful.
Just let them
Yep.
be out there, be free. I just want to. I just want to. I've had the taste, you know. I want to. I want to see one. Whatever that does to me, you know.
Randy, I did the article about you finding the young Bigfoot.
uh
Have you seen the Bigfoot, the adults
in that same area, I've seen a male up there. Yeah,
and are at a distance, or are you interacting with them?
he was about 90 feet from me, something like that.
Okay.
When I saw him, it was about 1 o'clock at night, but he was in the open when I saw him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you had
And
someone with you.
yeah, somebody was with me when
You
we
had a skeptic with you.
Yeah, it freaked
That
him
was the
out. He was
best
pretty
part.
mad. He cried later.
He cried.
Yeah,
He was a pretty kind of skeptical of the whole thing, and he was with Randy when you guys saw Jug. Was it who we think is Jug?
we call him Jughead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
we think he's like the younger of the males.
One of the teams.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
but yeah, it'll change you. This stuff changes you, and that's why I was telling you I'm so sorry. It's just like I feel like I opened up this world of just
don't apologize. If he was talking about Bigfoot as a little boy, you have nothing to apologize for.
it was something I've always wanted to do. I will say that it was like at
Yeah.
least one time to actually go to an area and try to look for Bigfoot, just to say I did it, and you haven't stopped since. And like,
How good is that video that you got that night?
it's real good. Oh no, my encounter video is really good.
Is it?
Clear audio.
You got it posted anywhere?
We've posted it through this podcast. It's on. We did a full episode on it where I do a walkthrough of the footage with my commentary, and you can hear everything and see. Because we had my main camera, I had a GoPro camera facing me, and then Randy had a GoPro on his head, so we had multiple angles of the incident too.
Yeah.
So how do I get to see this?
We can send you the link.
We can send you a link to it.
Okay, send
Yep.
me a link. Yeah, I'd really like to see it.
The interaction part between me and I'm guessing the Sasquatch clacking rocks it's like the peak of it. It's really good. I sat on that footage for a long time because I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to explain it to anybody.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I would ever want to post it or not because I'd have to see it. But it might be something we might even like to post on or post a link on our website.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So send me the link to it and let me take a look at it. If we run it, I certainly would only do it with you knowing it. I won't just do it. And in that case, I would love a bio from you also.
Yeah, sure. I'd definitely be down to do
It's
that.
a contrast from where you live and probably your bio. It would be quite a contrast.
Yeah, I travel down from. That's always the question. Like, how the hell did you end up here, like down in the Middle Tennessee? It's like, well, it's a long story. It just kind of happened that way. I mean, I've gone out with Randy. We've been back up to that quarry when we stayed overnight in the quarry in the caves. On another trip down that I came for, which was like what 6 months after that first initial one.
Yeah.
Did you get footage then?
We didn't get any footage. We had some. We heard some chatter on the ridge line, but it was a bad weather. Not
a good time to record.
It's raining. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had some We had some time when we were in the cave at night. We had like a fire going and stuff, and we were sitting there talking, and there was rocks being thrown into the cave at us.
Interesting.
Just kind
One of
of
the men I talked to a long time ago when he was a Boy Scout, they were at a camp out in the woods and they were singing around a fire, and the Bigfoot were off in the trees listening. And we've done another story a long time ago with a man from Canada, and he would sing, and the Bigfoot tried to imitate the sounds he was making. But it's it seems like every kind of creature likes music. I mean, you'll see stuff on the internet where people are doing a violin or playing a horn or
for
playing the piano,
stuff or do
cows or elephants or, and they all come. They are very attracted to it. And since you have all those guitars over there on your wall,
It's
maybe
been
that's
brought up in the past.
maybe you could. Do you sing?
No, no, we got a buddy for that. Like he's a better musician than us. We're gonna put him up to it.
Yeah, we
Well,
scheduled
it
that.
might be. We've gotten several stories about the Bigfoot really being attracted to music,
Yeah,
and
we
that would attract them, and it would attract the gentle side of them. You know,
we have got a friend of ours that we're using singing bows, and she swears up and down that they would come up and listen to her just with her singing bows.
I think that's the way to go. I think you might get some really good stuff. Get the Boston guy over there, so he has his camera hidden in the bushes. We don't want them to be put off by
I
the
need a
cameras.
ghillie suit. I need one of those ghillie suits to hide in the forest.
Yeah, I can see you in a ghillie suit.
That's
That'll
what I
work.
need.
If you come up, will you sing for us?
Me?
Are you going?
I was talking to her if she was going to sing. I knew better to ask Randy.
No. Anyhow, but a singing ghillie suit. I love it.
Ghillie suit. Yeah.
Ghillie suit. I think we may have come upon like this something that no one has actually tried yet.
I really think it might work.
I've thought about. There's been times when we've talked about more expeditions and more trips to do this. About like I really sat and thought about like if we get a tree stand and a ghillie suit and I'll sit up in the tree in the area all day and just silently sit there and wait. Like I've really been like I'm down to do this. Like to get that camera, to get it on camera would be, it'd be great.
Terrific.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
Yep.
an up close video.
I really think you guys could do this. Really.
Our primary site's pretty unique, so to speak. Been a very habituated site even before we were there, and not intentionally habituated either. Looking for them.
What do you mean, man?
It was a youth camp for a very long
Okay.
time, and when we first did that 10-day trip was there, and inside the cabins, this happened on the last day because we were staying in the cabins all night and we were getting activity and we're all hyped up, and one of our other team members, Catman, we kept sending him out to stay in the cabins by himself, like where there was a lot of activity. We're like, if we put one of us out there, like they're gonna come in. And on the last day, he came to me and he was like, have you read anything that's written on the walls in the cabin? And I was like, no. He's like, let's go in there. And in every cabin, and it's like, because the kids would draw on it, like, oh, best summer, 86, that type of stuff. Amongst that stuff was, be careful of the watchers in the woods, 77.
Wow.
Hey, there's whooping and hollering outside my cabin every night, 86.
Get pictures of that?
Yes,
we did. Yeah, we did.
we
Yeah.
have pictures and photos.
One thing actually said, if they come to the window, give them chocolate.
Yep.
It's like,
Wow.
what the hell?
And in every cabin, we went through every cabin, there was at least one or two, at the very least, one or two, something written. And I mean, like, there's years and years, decades of stuff written on these walls. And I remember us scrambling because we had to get off the site when we kind of discovered this, but we were going through all the, like, I got one here. I was coming in, snap a photo of it, snap a photo of it,
Yeah.
snap a photo.
Great still photos of that kind of stuff. What? That's an interesting kind of proof right there. That's terrific.
It was very validating. I will say that. It was very validating.
I'm sitting here like an editor. I like that story too. Seriously, send me some photos of of those wall shots that show that,
Yeah, I
and
gotta
just
dig through them, but I'll find them.
a little bit, so that we get some kind of idea about it.
Oh, absolutely. Um,
So, and Randy, you've got my email address, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
That you can give the guy, yeah, give the guys my email address, because that's easier. If I get those kind of things on email, I can work with them.
okay.
Okay,
When we
No
work
problem.
through Messenger, it becomes difficult.
gotcha.
Yeah, no.
Um, and I'll give the credit to your whatever you want. I mean, I'm agreeable.
Yeah, I'll send that over to you. You can see it. It's super interesting. I mean, when Gato Catman found it and pointed it out, and we started seeing like the pattern within the cabins, we were like, oh, it was one of those moments in like a movie where you just like pull back and you're like, oh, this has been
Like
happening.
they've been here for years.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
forever.
Wow, that is a great story. I had no idea I was going to benefit from this little conversation we're having.
We've had quite the Bigfoot journey on this end. I will say our team has been going out there. Randy has some great footage on his YouTube channel, or on the 40 in Tennessee YouTube channel, of this area. And
Do I have that, Randy? I don't think I do.
I don't think you do. I'll send you a link to it.
You're trying to keep me out of the story here. I'm
I'm
loving it.
sorry. I'm just not good at promoting it.
Well, I am. I'll be happy to promote you guys.
there's some great footage that Randy captured on that trail. He was at that time when we really got into it. Randy was there like 4 times a week
Well,
out there.
a lot. I was living up there like practically about 4 times a week.
It was great.
Are you living off the land if you're out there all the time?
I wasn't literally living off the land, but like I was up there like during the daylight. I was up there 4 times a week, from about 9 a.m. till about 7 or 8 in the evening.
We have a
Wow.
one of my favorite stories of, just to wrap this up, but I want to give you one of the fun stories that we had. We had during that 10-day trip, we had gotten a lot of activity, and we had friends come out to the site because it had been just me and Randy and like Catman and stuff. Invited some of the friends out, and we're like, you guys want to go out in the woods? Like at night, we took them out at night, and we had been getting activity, and there was nothing happening. And we're sitting out where it was happening all the time, and me and Randy are, I don't know, 2 people between us, 2 arms lengths
They
between
didn't
us.
like the strangers. They weren't going to.
And then Randy goes, just in a very like kind of low tone, he's just like, come on, you fuckers, like do something, like. And then a rock got thrown.
That's no, what I said. I said, you're making me look like an asshole,
Yes.
is what I said.
And like a second or two later, a rock comes whizzing between the two of us and hits the tree right next to us. And we're like, oh, okay, well.
When
And
Randy
nothing
speaks,
happened that night except for that.
Yep.
when Randy speaks, you better pay attention.
It was it was like, here's your thing, get out.
I'm sorry you're so far away in Boston.
I know, trust me, I wish I was down there more. I'd be out there a lot more.
What's your day job?
I work in television.
Oh, do you?
Yep. I'm an art department guy. So that's
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's a decent gig. But Mary,
Okay.
thank you for being on here for us tonight, and sharing all your knowledge on these subjects. I'd
Well,
love
thanks
to
for
have you.
sharing with me.
Oh, I'd love
Please,
to.
please. I mean, I'll put. It's not the biggest format in the world, but we'll put you on the website.
Oh, I'd love to be. I'll get
So
that.
on your website, is that where they can get books that you've written and everything else?
Under Editor's Corner, I list the books. Yeah. I
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Plug some of your where people can find your stuff.
All right. The website is skyshipsovercashiers.com. Cashiers is spelled just like the cashier at a grocery store. And actually, Cashiers is a mountaintop village town here in Western North Carolina. We started the website simply because we were seeing so many sky ships or so many UFOs over that mountain. The website's gone way beyond that, but that's how we started. And if you go there, we update stories usually, not almost always, every Friday evening. So there's something there for the weekend for people. And we do stuff on the Bigfoot, and we do stuff on a whole lot of things because I get bored doing the same thing all the time. And
I can understand that.
so that's it. And the books are there. They're all available on Amazon except for one. And that is called Spy in the Sky. And I've made incredible discoveries on Mars, in Antarctica, at the bottom of the ocean. It's mostly a picture book for adults. Um, and the famous They don't want that information out there. So I keep getting blocked on it. And that particular one you can only order through the website. Again, on the homepage, go to Editor's Corner, click on the thing that says books, and you can zip right down to it.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
It was
you.
a
Mary.
pleasure meeting all you guys.
It was
You as
great
well.
talking to you today. That was awesome. That was amazing.
Thank you so much, Mary.
All right. Thanks for arranging it, Randy. You take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That was great. That was great. I just want to apologize to our audience from the recording side, which is me. My internet kept dropping for literally like 2 seconds and then kicking back on. And then it
For the most part, you couldn't tell except like when you called it out. Like I was watching her, and so just when you would say something,
yeah, but
that's
the
when I would
recording on
know.
my side isn't recording. It's just me talking. I'd be like, it would freeze up, and I'd be like, "I'm sorry, everyone, for these technical difficulties."
so
And
yeah,
then it would, like, I'm like, "Come on, come on, come on," and it would pop back in.
Gotcha.
But
All
like
good.
this last like half hour, 45 minutes has been fine. It was just like right in the beginning. I'm like, what the hell? But yeah, I apologize to our audience members listening to that. Mary Joyce, find her on Skyships Over Cashier. Go check out her books. I'm gonna get the Cherokee Little People book. I want to read that.
Nice.
But that's our episode today, everyone. Thank you for listening. And we'll be back next week with another guest interview. Have a good night, guys.
Well,
See ya.